Hey Leah, Darren Slaughter here at darrenslaughter.com. I wanted to first say thank you for asking me to participate in the question and answer session that you had for the site for your readers. I'm going to try and answer these questions the best I can and give you, what I see, the approach that I see working for the remodelers that I work with. And I work with remodelers all over the country, so I'm somewhat agnostic to areas. I have remodelers down south. I have remodelers in the Midwest. I have remodelers in the Northeast. So what I see generally as being the primary issue the first time we sit down to talk is it's actually twofold. There's an on-page issue that I see, and there's an off-page. And when I say on-page, what I mean really is whatever their marketing happens to be, whatever the medium happens to be, whether it's radio or television or print or online. What I see most is the majority of the time, the majority of the ad is based on talking about them and their company. And not necessarily, and listen, you have to do that. You have to get that message out. But how do they, there's very little bridging of, let's say, that a particular company's feature to the benefit to the homeowner. So in other words, if you are, the best bathroom remodeler because you can get in and get out of doing a bathroom in a week, I don't necessarily see a lot of times that transference of how that turns into a benefit. You almost have to, the homeowner almost has to discover it on their own. Those kind of things you really need to make a point of stamping an exclamation point on your marketing, because it's what differentiates one company from another, and it may very well be what wins you a job over another company. So on page, make sure that your marketing tells the whole story. Whatever your features are, tie them to a benefit to the homeowner. It'll make the homeowner understand easier what it is you do and how you get to help them. As far as off-page, especially with remodelers, I see a lot of a shotgun approach. They want the world to know that they do bathrooms, they do kitchens, they do basements, they do additions. Not necessarily, never really focusing on one part of the room or another. For example, bathrooms are the fourth most remodeled room in the house. So that means that you have additions, you have kitchens, and you have basements that come before bathrooms. So what I would do is I would maybe have some type of lead-off hitter. I would talk primarily about maybe what I like to do as a remodeling contractor more. Maybe I like to do excuse me, maybe I like to do kitchens better. Maybe I like to do additions, or maybe I like to do basements. I think having a bit of a focus as at least part of your marketing strategy will help the world kind of figure out what it is that you do. Because when you just blast out a message that, hey, I'm a remodeler, I don't really know what that means as a homeowner. Does that mean you're going to come in and do drywall or do siding, or are you going to put an addition on my house? So if you explain that, if you break that out in your marketing, and you can do different marketing messages for different mediums and different applications, you'll have a much better chance you'll have a much higher take rate of a consumer following up and saying, hey, at least tell me a little bit more about what you're talking about. Okay? So on to 3. I guess you have read a post I had a couple of weeks ago called The Law of 25. And basically, the Law of 25 really is just about touches. It's just about being in action. It's about doing things. The post was really kind of just talking about getting out there and touching 25 former prospects or current prospects, or just 25 people that can either use your service or know somebody that could use your service a day. Talk to 25 people a day, 250 people a week, 1,000 people a month. If you have the ability as a contractor, as a remodeler, to talk to 1,000 people a month about what you do, even if you stink at closing or selling, if you talk to 1,000 people a month, your chances of at least getting some type of new business on a monthly basis is a lot higher. It's all about momentum. I mean, momentum is huge. When you have momentum, you just think about it. When you're on a roll, you feel it. You feel good. Nothing can stop you. But when you're in the dumps, you can't close a door in sales speak. So having those 25 touches helps you build momentum day after day after day. And as a contractor, especially a lot of these guys that are out there doing it all, they're supervising jobs, they're trying to land new business. It's pretty easy to kind of get sucked into a vortex through the course of a day and feel like nothing's going right. So each touch that you have with a customer is just an opportunity to maybe not close somebody, but at least let somebody else know who doesn't know who you are about what you do. So it's a way of kind of just stepping out of maybe that protective barrier that a lot of contractors get in when they have crews that go out and do the work, and they have sales guys that go out and do the selling. And I don't necessarily care who does the touches. If you're a contractor, a remodeling contractor, and you have 3 salespeople, well, then between the 4 of you, you guys need to be talking to 100 people a day. Somehow, some way, be talking to 100 people a day. Everybody has the responsibility to at least talk to 25 people a day. So that was the law of 25. The law of 25 was really just about activity, getting some kind of activity in the pipeline to make sure that at the end of the week, you could say, hey, listen, I talked to a couple hundred people who have varying degrees of interest in what I do. They're hyperactive, ready to buy, or they could care less about me. But at the end of the day, I know that I've talked to a couple of hundred people, and they at least know my name and they know my company name. So that was really what the law of 25 was about. Your next question was, you wanted to know about a remodeler that I thought their website was really kind of doing a great job. And the one in particular that I like to use as an example is Justin Bravo at LoneStarSA.com. Justin and his dad down in San Antonio are major remodelers, and Justin really has a fantastic eye and aptitude for the web. He does a lot of marketing online. He's on Facebook. He's out there grabbing people and bringing them back to his site, and his site is pretty fantastic. In fact, he had reached out to me a couple of months ago and wanted to hire me to do a website review. And I said to him, I said, Justin, I wouldn't take your money to do it. I mean, your website is already, your website's fantastic. Here's a couple tweaks here and there that I would do. But other than that, your website, it looks good. It's appealing to the eye. And let's face it, just like, when you went out and you met your significant other, the first thing that appealed to you was, an appearance. So the website looks great. More and more now, it's all about content. So, these guys that get on the phone and promise you search engine optimization, that's kind of going by the wayside. It's all about links to your website because you've got great content on your website. So whether that content is in the way of just a static HTML site that you've built to be a one better than the standard traditional brochure where that you see a lot of times for contractors, or you've moved it over to a full-blown WordPress setup that you're doing blogging on, and you've got pictures and videos and things like that. That's the common denominator that all great sites have today is you have to be able to incorporate video, and you have to be able to incorporate pictures into your site design and layout today, because there are 3 billion searches on YouTube a day. YouTube is the second most popular search engine in the world, behind its parent company, Google. So if you're not putting video onto your website, you're missing a huge opportunity to grab a potential client who doesn't necessarily have an interest in sitting there and reading about what you do. They'd rather see it. They want to see the before and after pictures. And I think Justin does a great job of that on their site down there at LoneStarSA.com. So check them out. And finally, your last question, you said you wanted me to talk a little bit about Angie's List and what my 2 top recommendations are for remodeling contractors online. Yeah, I mean, I rail a little bit against Angie's List simply for the fact that I don't like the way that they you know, they let's face it, they get paid from both sides of the equation. If you're going to be a review site, you can't, you know, in a perfect world, you wouldn't take money from either. But listen, you know, somebody's got to pay bandwidth bills and advertising bills and salespeople bills. So you have to take money from somebody. My problem is just the fact that they take money from contractors and from homeowners. And I think the way that they go about positioning themselves um, to homeowners, you know, with the saying that, hey, you know, contractors can't advertise on this site. Well, they can. And you're splitting hairs with the way that you kind of word it. But onto some other sites that I think are worthwhile. I think having a solid um, Google Places page that is constantly updated with new material, with new pictures, new video, and new contextual material is, you know, probably the best solution, and it's free, that a remodeling contractor could implement today. Um, why? Because let's face it, it's literally one of the first. Sorry for that, guys. It's literally one of the first results that you're going to see when somebody goes into Google, who is, let's face it, the king of all searches, and sees. You're going to see the Google Maps. You're going to see the Google Places, the 7-pack at the top. So if you don't have a Google Places page, get in there and get one set up right away. If you do have a Google Places page, understand that it's not a set it and forget it proposition. You have to constantly care and feed that page, and it'll serve you well over time. So, Leah, I hope that answers your questions. I appreciate the opportunity to do this video, and if there's anything else you need, absolutely let me know. Take care. Bye.